Hi, I'm Pedro from Coffee Parts, and today we're looking at this, an original 1967 Olympia Cremina. So I've owned quite a few Creminas over the years. A 67, this one, an 85 and a 2011. But this one has to be one of my favorites. Not only is it a 67 model, this was built in 1967 from the original batch. And I've had it now for about 12 years. About the same time we became the Australian distributor for Olympia. And it really has a special place in my heart. But first things first, before we dive in and talk about this machine and how Olympia came about, let's make a coffee. This machine is a direct lever system. So when you lift the lever, you're basically bringing water in, and if you have the portafilter with the coffee there, you're pre-wetting or pre-infusing the coffee. And when you bring in the lever down, you're pushing or pressurizing through that coffee to do that espresso. So we're just gonna lift some water through to try and stabilize the temperature. Now on this machine, I don't have a temperature strip because this is a rare 67 model from 1967. I really wanted to keep it original. In my 2011, I did mod it a bit. Locking that portafilter in, it's going to bring in the cup and lift this lever up. When we lift the lever, we're pre-infusing. We're going to give it about 10 seconds. Normally you give about 10, sometimes a bit longer, or where you see the coffee come through. But now we're just going to pull down, and I'm doing a mid-roast in quite a fine grind at 14 grams. So it's going to be a bit of a push to get it through. Stop talking because there is something magical just looking at the machine. Talking about the machine, the only noise this machine makes is when it's warming up. It's got this gurgle, this sound of the water heating. Apart from that, it's dead silent. Just bringing out, it's got a really thick, strong crema, and there's something magical about this quiet, quite brutalist yet minimalistic machine, but we'll get into that later. It really is beautiful. Now this coffee actually came out a little bit hot. I probably should have flushed it a bit longer, but there's something magical, and every time I use this machine, I don't know, I'm like a kid around it. Now I don't use this machine very often, it's actually been in storage, but it's still a really big part of my life. So this machine is a 1967 machine, and when we were selling the 2011 models, we had a customer that had built up quite a collection of lever machines and kept coming in, and he said, Pedro, you got an 85, you got the 2011 models which you sell, you really need a 67. And I was like, I just don't know where to find one. And he had one and sold it to me. This customer's name was Paul Kritz. Now this machine's been sitting in storage, so that it needs to be really repolished to get that patina out. But when you look at it inside, it was virtually brand new. The piston was smooth, all the seals were done. It really was one of a kind, and a 67 from 1967. So for quite a while, I had the collection of 67, 85, 2011. Currently, I only have this 67. Now these machines were made in Switzerland, and up till recently, they were a family-run business. The original family were still running the business. There was something quite magical about it being a very small operation, but very meticulous. And I actually, with this machine, still have the original plastic tamper with Olympia-express written on it. However, I did get a 49.2mm Reg Barber tamper made early in the day because I wanted that kind of, not only a better tamper than the plastic tamper, but that look. I really wanted that vintage look, and I feel like I've achieved that with that tamper. Now this machine was named the best espresso machine in the world by New York Times. And I really do see why. When you look at it, it's a very expensive, small, little metal box. Quite brutalist yet minimalist in design. When you get to know the machine, everything about it is just perfect. And it's a machine that really is built to last a lifetime and to be passed down between the generations. And from a design perspective, I kind of think of it like a Porsche, where it's a timeless design. The current model, it's just an evolution better of this. It's not a redesign. Obviously things have evolved and have changed and have improved. fundamentally a lot of the group head remains the same. Now, it does have its quirks. Being a very small machine, it doesn't have a reservoir tank. So to fill this machine, you do have to cool it down and open here. And when you open it, it's just like an old car radiator. It has to be cool, otherwise you're gonna burn yourself. With the Ferma Femina video that I did however learn something that I haven't done before, and I did today, and it was awesome. When you do need to fill up the machine, a quick way to do it is to turn off the machine, get your water into a milk jug, steam the water, as what you're doing is you're heating the water with the machine's heat and obviously depressurizing the machine. So after you've done that, you can open it and you're pouring in relatively hot water. So it's a lot quicker than to heat up again. You don't have that cold going into a hot water environment, and you depressurize the machine. Quite awesome, and something that over so many years of owning this machine, I only just found out recently. Filling it up too, you're filling it from the top, yet the sight glass is here. So it is a little bit awkward to know how much you filled versus where you are in the sight glass. But it's one of those things when you are living with the machine, you do get a feel for how much of that water jug it takes to fill. So although the first time you use it, it's a bit awkward, once it is your machine, it's something that's really normalized. Another thing, being such a small machine, if you are grinding really fine and bringing down quite a lot of pressure, the machine does tip forward somewhat. But that's an easy solve because the bottom here is really cool. All the heat's in there, you can just hold down the machine. And in saying that, it means you can also put a scale like the Akaya on there to weigh out your shots. Some other machines are piston machines, you can't do that because there's a lot of heat at the base. There's also been a whole bunch of mods. You obviously get the temperature strips for the group head to know at what temperature your head is at. You can get pressure gauges so you know what pressure the head's at, and you can even get weighted handles here to make it easier for you to pull down. All these things can be done, but this being an original, I've really wanted to keep it original. Another thing to note is if you are buying a vintage machine, and I'm very pro that, I love vintage and old machines. I love machines just standing the test of time. If you are buying a vintage machine, some of the models pre-1982 did have asbestos in them. So when you are rebuilding it, be careful with the seals. But in saying that, a machine that's been rebuilt professionally or by a super enthusiast, everything has been solved. And these machines really are built to last a lifetime. I keep coming back and saying how well they're built, and it's not going to come across in camera. But it's the same thing as when you look at big machines like machines made by Keys Van den Western. There's just something magical about the build. This machine is one that I'll hold forever in my collection. I kind of do regret selling my 85 and 2011, but at the time I just had way too many machines and the spare room at my house was over full. Now I've got a warehouse dedicated to my collection, things are a little different, and I might over time start building back up again. Let me know in the comments below. Which coffee machine levers make you smile? Is it the 67 Cremina, a newer Cremina, a Pavoni, a Landinium, a La Marzocco Lever X, a San Marco? Let me know. I'm fascinated by levers and I'm curious. Over time, we're going to be filming a bit more of my collection, so hopefully one day I'll have them all up on YouTube. And like always, if this video has brought you value, hit that thumbs up and please subscribe. Thank you and see you in the next video.